Okay, and we're back. Only for a short stream though this time. Nothing major, but I did want to show you guys that we got our characters to max level. I went ahead in the story too just to speed this process along, because I realized every time I stopped and showed story, it was just taking longer to get through this. But I do want to get through it for you guys and then go over some analysis that I've made, some points of interest that I've kind of noticed, but still am not fully kind of conformed to saying this is how things are, this is how things are going to be. Oh, I need to remove that. But I do want to take a moment to explain my observations and just some things that I've noticed as we were working on this. Well, luckily, you've seen the story before because I've live streamed this in the past. This wasn't about the story. This was about doing this study. And one of the most important sections of this study is right now, is the characters at level 20. Now, we don't have every character in the party. We're still missing about 5 or 6 characters, but they all come promoted. You'll notice Domingo and Gates are low levels, but I'm going to explain them in a minute, because... Uh-oh. Had some background sound in there. So, I am going to very vividly... You were hearing double, I just fixed it. It's double the trouble. And I'm going to explain what I understand of the game, the characters, and possibly how this study is going to play out. Because it's going to play out, I think, very differently based on a certain set of factors that I need to keep in mind. So, yeah. So let's say we're going to start this as if it were an episode. In 3, 2, 1. And welcome to another study, another experiment, if you will, that I have done. I am your host, the RPG Guy, and we have done another leveling study, and we're at the halfway point of that study, or the 1/3 point, depending on how things kind of go and how I need to figure out other aspects of the game. And with me is the lovely Me Plus, and she's going to help me compare stats and everything of these characters. Now, if you followed my Shining Force 1 leveling explanation and guide, I always stopped at level 20 because I wanted to show unpromoted characters and their statistic behaviors when they hit level 20. And obviously, we're going to gain 20 more levels with them after promotion to see how they are. Now, that's going to come much later in the game because we're at the end of chapter 3. So realistically, and with great ease, you can get your characters to level 20 unpromoted by the last battle of chapter 3. So that's an easy way to do it, and I would do it as soon as possible because you get 2 characters, specifically Guyan, well, not Guyan rather, but Kashing you get kinda late, and he's came in at level 11. So that's a little problematic. And I'm going to explain Domingo and Gates and how promoted character types are going to be treated. And as far as I'm concerned, from looking at the statistics that Domingo has, I consider him a promoted character, unlike Shining Force 1, where he was insanely weak looking in his stats. And then he developed in magic accessibility. When we pick Domingo up, he comes with Fire and Freeze level 3. So he's already casting spells that were stronger than what my current casters could do. But he just had low MP. But we are going to make some comparisons and all that good stuff. So, what has been done here is every character that can be promoted in the game, that can receive a promotion, not already has one, but can receive one, is at level 20. And for the sake and the argument of this study, we're going to take a look at them statistically, and I'm also going to see if they take away any stats from them leveling up, from them receiving their promotion. So that's the 2 things you're going to see. if you know, for relevance sake, is you're gonna see these characters' stats compared to each other. So we're gonna compare Kashing versus Apis. We're gonna compare Modern Gates, who came in at level 3. He gained a level. So did Domingo. Domingo came in at level 3. But we're gonna take their current levels and compare them just lightly to the other characters, just to see what's going on. And then I'm going to make an estimate of what I think actually happened to these two characters statistically and how the game might have been set. We're also going to take a look at who's kind of, you know, stronger than other characters based on spell selections, based on HP, MP, strength, defense, agility, and various things as tiebreakers. I'm going to use the exact same rules and logic I used in the Shining Force 1 experiment as well. You know, if you're a flying creature, you don't gain benefit of land terrain, so you shouldn't, you know, so the fact that you can fly is neat, but you're also defensively weaker than other characters who benefit from that terrain. So those two things strategically and debatably can cancel each other out in a game like this. And it's solely based on strategy and playing style. So, you know, a lot of people would give Domingo kudo points in Shining Force 1. I actually debunked a lot of that, because in the first Shining Force, I don't believe he gained terrain benefits. And this one he does. So they've changed the way that character functions. We also kind of changed some of the taboo thoughts of certain characters, like Hans. Hans statistically was the best archer in the study if you go through the effort to level him with 40 level ups, so to speak, or 20 or 38, however you want to say it. So that was an interesting study. That was an interesting thing to see statistically who the best characters might be. Now we're doing the same thing in this study, and we're going to compare characters to each other. In some instances, we don't have second characters to compare, so we compare them to the next closest thing. Are you ready, Meeps? You ready to do the research? So characters, for example, like Claude right now will be compared to Guyan and like the main hero, characters who share the same weapon. And we'll look at where they are right now and try to figure that all out. So let's get started. We'll do specialty characters and the hero last because it's the easiest thing to do. And we'll go ahead and do Ruse second to last because we're going to compare him to a promoted character right now. So let's go ahead and look at our archers. We have two of them. We have an archer and we have a centaur archer, who to me are a ranger. They're in the same class as far as I'm concerned. There's just a slight functional difference between them. So let's take a look at them. Now I can do this, but just to make sure I don't confuse any numbers, we're going to open up their, we're going to open them up statistically and take a look at them. No stat boosting items have been used. Oops, I'm saving. And all stat boosting items have been accounted for. So somebody's holding on to everything available by this point of the game. So let's go ahead and go to status here. And let's take a look. So let's take a look at Shade really carefully here. Shade has 36 HP. And he has 43 attack. His defense is 18, so that's pretty low. And his agility is 17, which is hard to say where that is. I haven't really studied agility too much. But if we compare it to other people, it's kind of average. It looks like 20 is considered fast. And then you have mostly teens going through this list. So I would say it's not the worst out of everybody. So if we go back to Shade here. So far, and we're going to include movement because, thanks, Meep. So we got his stats. Now let's take a look at Stock here, who is a ranger, who is a bow user from range. Now his HP is 35. And his attack is 45, his defense is 16, his agility is 16, and his movement is 6, which I think I want to make a point to looking at Apis. Regular centaurs have a movement of 7. This centaur, Stock, only has a movement of 6, so they kind of dwarfed that movement from Belial in Shining Force 1, and they gave it back, I believe, in Shining Force 2 to May. So how that affects things is a little different, but we got an HP of 35, attack of 45, 16 for defense, 16 agility, and 6 movement. So let's compare these things to Shade. Now, when we looked at Shade, Shade had 36 HP. 1 point of health is negligible. Their attacks are 2 points difference. I find that also to be slightly statistically negligible. They're close enough, and they're not promoted yet, so we don't know what their long-term change is going to be when we level them 20 more levels again. But there is a substantial difference. I'm sorry, a subtle difference in attack. But that same thing can be said in defense, as there are 2 points difference in defense. So Shade has 2 points more defense than Stock. Stock has 2 points of attack higher. So that's kind of an even trade-off. The health, like I said, is only off by a point, and that's nominal. Agility, Shade is 1 point of agility faster. Stock is 1 point of agility slower. Movement. Now, Shade's movement is only 5, Stock's movement is 6. Now, you would say, well, then Stock clearly wins that. To keep this in mind, Centaurs take movement penalties in certain types of terrain more than other characters do. Now, I've not paid that much of attention to it directly at the moment, but it is something I'm going to look at as we go forward. I do believe that that is an accurate sentiment, that in the case of Centaurs, I believe they do still take that movement penalty from what I've been observing. So really, to me, that's a point away from Stock as far as what's going on right now. Shade has better versatility of movement on various terrain, where Stock may be hindered by that terrain. And if you guys know that terrain isn't as viable of a thing for Centaur characters to do, let me know, because I believe it still hinders their movement more than it does other characters. So keep that in mind. So that covers our archers, which is great. Now here's the deal: we've got 2 healers. We've got 3 healers technically, but there's 2 of them that are identical classes, and 1 of them that is a priest. So let's take a look at our healers here. We've got Sig, Cray, and Mayfair. Now, in my opinion of what makes a good party, having 2 healers is a pretty good idea. We're also short a healer, but we're going to get that healer much later in the game. But let's take a look at Sig. Now, Sig and Cray are monks, so they actually have some unique stats, but are they relative to a healer? Not really, but we are going to give a second place, because in my philosophy of playing tactical games, it's good to have a second healer in case one of them gets bogged down or something, and we're not at endgame yet. We're just doing the first promotion. So let's take a look at stats here. So what is important to know? The spell selection is also very important to take note of. So not just the HP, we also need to know their MP. We need to know the attack, the defense, the agility, and the movement. So we need to make sure we make notes of all of that, plus the spell layout. Because a healing class, all these different healers have different spell layouts, and what level those spells get. And we will weigh those spell values. Well, I guess right now, heal is probably very important. It is very, very important, and I stressed that alongside aura. Aura and heal are the most important things to take note with these characters, with healing classes. A character that just has aura in and of itself is not good unless they have an MP, loadout to accommodate that, which they won't. So, at least in every Shining game I've played up through 2, it's very rare that they have an MP allotment to just let you spam aura level 2 over and over and over again, unless you power level the crap out of your healers. So this would be Sig. So like I said, heal is very important. Detox, even though poison seems to happen more frequently in Shining Force CD than it did in Shining Force 1, is probably the second most important spell. And then Dispel and Hell are, at this current state, are the least important, because Sig has an attack of 42. Right? That's strong. That's at least on par with Shade. Okay, and he's, I think, the weakest of the 2 monks when it comes to physical attack. His defense is better than about 10 points better than Stock, but not much. So he can at least take a hit a lot better. And he has he's in the mid-30s for health, so that's not too bad. So that's an interesting observation. Now, this one is usually considered the fan favorite for people, Cray. Let's take a look at Cray. Well, strangely enough, his attack is the same as Sig. So people who say his attack is always better, well, you're flat out wrong. It's not. It's actually the same by the time he gets to level 20, at least in this example. Maybe there's more than 20 levels of stats for the under promoted stuff. I don't know that, but I'm saying for the sake of this experiment, they're exactly the same in attack. Now he has 3 health more than Sig, but his MP is 11 MP less. That's 1 healing level 3 lost. His defense is 5 points lower. His agility, I believe, is 3 points faster. Now, let's take a look at his spells. Heal level 3, very good. I would say Muddle is useless. Hell is insignificant. Because you have to be next to somebody to use Hell. You're better off using a physical attack unless you want to get a guaranteed kill. Boost, however, is actually vastly more useful right now than Detox. Boost raises your defense and your agility for 5 characters in a plus configuration temporarily. However, this is tough. The fact that his healing potential is lower, his health is 3 points higher, but his defense is 5 points lower. This is not good. This is not promising. However, by the end of Chapter 3, we start running into enemies with breath attacks. And throughout Chapter 3, enemies have been flinging spells around like it's going out of style. So, a little, the 3 hit points of health might matter in small, singular situations. But I have to give it to Sig right now. Just for right now, I have to give it to Sig. Because Sig so far is a more capable and competent monk, statistically. Because remember, Cray only beats him in HP by 3, and the fact that he has the boost spell. And you could argue agility. That's 3 things out of 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stats. 7 things. Because I'm taking 2 spells from Sig and saying those are relevant. That's 3 out of 7. That's not even 50% better. So I'm gonna go with Sig. Or I'm gonna go with Sig as the better monk for now. This is temporary because who knows what's gonna happen when they go through their promotion levels, and we've seen insane turnarounds during 20 levels of promotion. So I'm reluctant to just chalk it up to that. Let's take a look at Mayfair. Now, Mayfair is not a monk, okay, nor is she trying to be. She's not fooling anybody. She's not, for now. So Mayfair is a healer, but she is a priest, okay, and she's actually the only priest, I believe, in this book. So the other healer is actually a specialty healer, so that's something completely different. So I'm going to compare Mayfair to the monks, but I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to ignore her attack. And there's a good reason to ignore her attack, because she comes with Hell 2. So Hell 2 cancels out her attack. Because if you add up the AoE of Hell 2, even if you hit 2 enemies, 3 enemies, that's going to be more damage than 1 attack from Sig or from Cray, so as far as I'm concerned, theoretically. But let's take a look. Now, she has the lowest HP, which is fine. She has the same MP as Sig, and by the lowest HP, she's 6 HP lower. No, I'm sorry, she's 6 HP lower than Cray, 3 lower than Sig. Her attack is 35, but I think Hell trumps that for now. However, you know what? Let's make it a tie. Because Hell burns MP, so that's a tie. The defense is equivalent to Sig, so that's pretty interesting. And agility is 16, which makes her slower than Cray, but faster than Sig by 1 point, so that's nothing. So, with that said, I would have to say that she's the better healer because of her spell allotment. She gets heal level 3, but she's also got Aura level 1, and I think at level 19 she picked up Aura level 2, which cost 11 MP to cast, but you get to heal up to 13 squares worth of dudes. Not, you know, so she's the best healer. Mayfair is easily the best healer. But I would say right now, when we compared Cray to Sig's stats were significantly better than Cray's in more areas. So our combo, if you're going to use these two, if you're going to have two healers based off of what we got, Mayfair and Sig for now. Again, when they promote and when we start looking at them promoted, everything's going to freaking change. So, alright, so that covers healers. Let's look at knights. So we have Apis, which is, so we've got Apis here, and Apis attack is 44. So now we're getting into the heavier hitters, because now we haven't, not really the heavy hitters, because stock hits 45, so stock technically does more, technically one attack more than Apis, but again, it's still early and there's not enough growth. However, the defense is 29, which is the highest we've seen, but only 2 points higher than characters like Mayfair and Sig, so his defense isn't that good. His HP is nominal. You notice that all the HP so far has been in the mid-30s amongst the healers and the archers. And actually the highest HP we've got so far is from Cray and from Shade. So that's an interesting observation that you know, a frontliner doesn't have more HP than a backliner, and the defense is only 2 points better than one of the monks. One monk and the priest. So this is an interesting observation. Now again, this is probably all going to change dramatically upon promotion. So it's like, why bother? I know, but we're doing it anyway. Movement is 7, 15, agility 29, defense, so on the higher scale for defense. Again, the highest defense I believe we've seen, because Mayfair and Sig have 27 defense, which is a 2-point difference, which I find to be nominal. You barely can tell that it's subtle, but it is there. And the attack is 44, which is not the strongest attack we've seen so far. Currently, that is held by stock at 45. So, but still pretty good. Let's now take a look at Kashing, because Kashing was our late grab for a knight, and he's at level 20. Now let's take a look. So 33 HP. HP is the same. Attack is 43, so it's only 1 point difference. But it is lower. Defense is 26 versus Apis is 29. So that means this dude's defense is lower than all of the monk characters. The priest and the 2 monks that we have. How embarrassing. And his agility is 13. So he's slower than Apis. And I would say he's almost a tie with Apis, but his defense and his agility are significantly slower by 2 points for the agility and 3 points for the defense. But HP is the same. Attack is only 1 point difference, though lower. I find that to be nominal. He's not as bad as it sounds yet. A lot of people say he's a terrible knight. I, want to see that, and I want to see that. I want to see that in his actual performance. So the last group that we can easily account for are the casters, specifically Wendy and Yisha. So let's take a look at Wendy. Everybody's favorite is Wendy. Let's find out why that should be true, or why they might be wrong. It's an we're going to observe now. Wendy's HP is 32, MP 39. Attack is ridiculous. Nobody cares. Defense is 18 and agility is 20. Movement is 5. That's standard. She comes with Blaze 3, which she did not get until because she's a redhead. She's a ginger with fire crotch. Look out! She shoots fireballs out of her crotch. I'm a terrible human being. All right, and I'm so glad to be that way. So let's take a look at Wendy. Her attack is nominal. I'm not going to bother with it. Defense is 18, agility 20. So she's really fast, much like Tao is in the first Shining Force game. She's armed with Blaze 3, but again, I didn't get that Blaze 3 till about level 17 or 18. So it took quite some time to get that Blaze 3 spell, which means she was actually kind of a pain in the ass to level for quite some time. But she had Blaze 2 and Freeze 2 for a long period. So she's got some versatility. And so that's an interesting observation. Let's take a look at Yisha. Alright, so Yisha has a lot less HP at only 24. So that's 8 less than Wendy. So that's tough. That's rough. But her MP, ooh, that MP is only a little higher. made you think I was gonna just fall for that. It's only a little bit higher. It's only 3 points higher. Her attack is 28. Again, we don't care about attack. Defense is 15. That's 3 points less than Wendy. And agility is 19, only 1 point less than Wendy. So statistically, except MP, she's lower in every respect. And maybe you could argue attack. She's higher in attack, but we don't care about that. So what makes her interesting? Well, she's got 3 spells of interest. We know what her full magical loadout is. Blaze at level 3, which she got before Wendy did, level-wise. And Bolt level 1, which that could explode into Bolt's level 2, level 3, maybe level 4. We don't really know yet. We still got a lot of leveling to do. But Bolt is more effective than Freeze and Blaze, and everybody who's a Shining Force fan knows this. Now, I'm not going to bend over and say Bolt is the end-all spell, the penultimate spell in the game. It has a high MP cost, where level 1 costs 8, but it hits 5 enemies. So, okay, it's 2 points more expensive to cast than Blaze 2, and it does more damage than Blaze 2. And then it's 1 point more than Freeze 2. So it's hard to defend Blaze and Freeze in lieu of someone with Bolt. Now, in all fairness, again, Bolt isn't leveled very high. It's only level 1, and she got that at about level 16, I think, or 17. So it was a little later in the leveling scheme, but it's interesting that she has it. And Desoul could be like a tiebreaker spell, because Desoul is so hit and miss and random. And Slow is actually not too bad of a spell. It's more useful than the shit Wendy had. It's more useful than Sleep. Okay? And Slow, I believe, too, can hit multiple enemies. So even if you kind of null Bolt down and say it's as effective as Freeze level 2, which is a fair sentiment, say, okay, that's a tie. Well, they tie because of Blaze as well. Okay, fine. And then I'll give you a tie between Desoul and Sleep. They're 2 spells that most players don't use that often. But Slow is actually somewhat useful against enemies, because we're now starting to meet enemies with elemental resistance, yet we haven't met an enemy with Bolt resistance. We've met them with fire and ice resistance, but not Bolt resistance, at least that I've noticed. And enemies who are resistant to those things, you could use Slow against. I don't know if she's an elf. I don't think she's an elf with green ears. I think that's just the lapel of her robe. But yeah, that would be funny if it was. So really quick, now we're going to look at, let's take a look at Ruse, and we're also going to compare Ruse at level 20 to Gates, who's already promoted. And I'm going to explain what I think here's my theory about promotions in this game. I have a theory. So Domingo and Gates came to us at level 3 when we found them. My theory of the pre-promoted characters in this game is that they promoted possibly at level 10 or at level 15. Now, here's what we can say is this. They clearly did not promote these characters at level 20. I have a pretty strong feeling that they didn't do it at 20. But in the case of Gates and Ruse, it doesn't seem like they did it at 10 either. That it might be around level 15. But let's take a look at them really quick. So we've got Ruse here, whose HP is 30. His attack is a whopping 50. So he hits like a frickin' truck. That one there's some good attack. That one there's some murdering stats right there. But his defense is still low. It's 26. You notice that all of the casters and everybody's defense is between level 15 and frickin' 25. Or 27 or something like that. So there's nobody in the whole party who just has like absurdly awesome defense right now, physically. But again, I guarantee that's all going to change when they're promoted. and we give them some levels. That we're gonna start to see those other numbers go up. Yes, he takes them on a trip to Murder Town. So we've got Ruse at 30 HP, attack of 50, a defense of 26, an agility of 13, and a movement of 5. Now let's take a look at Ruse. There's only one level higher than when we grabbed him, which isn't, or Gates rather. Let's take a look at Gates here. Now, this is a very interesting observation. Their HP difference is only 1 point. It's only 1 point. His attack is 44, so it's 6 less than Ruse's, but look at that delicious defense. It's 6 higher. So there's literally a 6-point difference between the two characters. So if we look at Ruse's attack is right now currently 50. Well, Gates's attack's only 6 less, right? But look at the defense of Ruse. Ruse's defense was 26. Gates's defense is 6 points higher. So where Ruse destroys Gates in attack, Gates destroys Ruse in defense, and their agility and movements is exactly the same. So where do I think things are with this turnout? Well, I think that they may have promoted characters at level 15. And I think the credence to that is because look at how close Gates is level-wise. If he was not promoted, he would be level 19 right now, in theory, because level 1 in promoted doesn't count because you always go back to level 1. So he's technically leveled 19 times. Had a hiccup there in the stream. So where was I? Was on a tangent and everything. So I have a feeling that characters are leveled at about, are promoted at about 15. And this is my only evidence of it, but we're going to look at Domingo as well, because I compared Domingo to our offensive casters. But currently, it's an interesting observation that Gates is slightly faster. He has better defense by 6 points, but his attack is weaker by 6 points. Their HP is only 1 point apart. It's an interesting observation, because most people think Ruse is terrible. But even if you level, or I'm sorry, most people think Gates is the worst. But when you just look at them directly compared to each other, it's a neat observation. It's something worth studying, I would argue, to see them that close. Now, let's take a look really quick at Domingo and compare Domingo to maybe Yisha, because I still think Yisha is a better mage right now. Alright, so Domingo is going to look better just outright. There's not much I can do to prevent this, because he's level 9 promoted. And if we go under the assumption that there's 15 levels, then they promote a character, then he's already higher than the entire party. Now, with that said, there are some neat little observations. His attack is 32. That's actually better physical attack, I believe, than our knights, actually. Is that true? I had to refresh the page, the chat log, so I can't look back at it now. Where's Apis? There he is. 44. So no, he's not. He's probably comparable to maybe. No, he's not. He's even. What are these guys? 45. Cray was 42. So no, he's still weak in the attack range, but he's better attack than the other offensive casters. But that's nominal. His defense is 26, so there's nothing special about his defense. It's not like Shining Force 1. No, you don't need to worry about reposting it, Meeps. I think we're okay for now. His defense is nominal. Now, he's fast as shit, though. He's a fast son bitch. At 21, he's the fastest character in the party. But, again, that could be an offset from the levels I've given him. Now, when we got him, I'm going to tell you right now, when he joined the party, he came with Blaze 3 and Freeze level 3. He came with about, I want to say it was 30 MP? Or a little less than, it might have been less than that. I'm pretty sure it might have been a little less than that. So, the fact he had a very powerful Blaze and Freeze spell on hand is neat, but he doesn't have the MP to sustain it. So he's good. Don't get me wrong. And they fixed the issue that a lot of people had with him. He benefits from land effect now. So that's kind of neat because now it doesn't feel as bad when you look at his defense. However, his HP is pretty high. It's 38, where, other characters were in their early 30s, HP wise. So he so far has the highest HP, I think, of any character right now, except one. But so that's an interesting observation. Now he's obviously got access to Bolt. Domingo has the potential to be the best mage in the game because he has all three. He has all three spell accesses, and he has the soul. So we'll see what happens as we level the other casters, because maybe they have better MP supplies than he does. Think about that. If we're only going to level Domingo to 20 for the time being, he's only got 11 more levels of leveling, and if he doesn't get a big MP bonus, that's going to suck. Whereas the other characters are going to have a full 19 levels of MP growth. He's only going to have 11 more. So there's a chance, in theory, that that's going to happen. Now, what am I going to do about that? Two things. When that comes into play, and I'll know early on because I'm going to make Domingo my test for this, is when Domingo hits level 20, we're going to look and see. I'm going to compare him to the other offensive casters in the party, mages in the party, who will now be wizards. And what I'll do is I will see where he is, and if he is not comparable to the two of them, by then they'll probably be level 12 to 14 promoted. I will promote him more levels under the assumption that he came under leveled, right? That the game considered him promoted at like level 10 or at level 15. If they promoted at 15, he is short 7 levels, right? If he came in at level 15, he needs 5 levels to be promoted. Wait a minute, I might be doing this wrong. So no, he just needs 5 more levels past level 20. If he's still underdone, I'm going to assume they promoted him at 10. That's just the way I'm going to assume it. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about that. And I'm going to do that with every promoted character. I'm actually going to focus on building them up first, because they're going to be the most controversial characters as far as who's the best. But we will take a note of their stats when they hit 20. But I am going to try to give them all as what I can assume is the most even level amount of levels possible. But yeah, so currently Domingo is pretty cool. He's definitely pretty interesting. And we're going to see how he grows. Now, last but not least, we've got 2 other characters we've not looked at. Guyan, and our main character, who we have named after one of our viewers whose sense of humor is hilariously awesome, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. So we decided to name him after one of our viewers, Kidori. And so now we're going to look at our hero. And we're going to look at Guyan, because they're the only 2 specialty classes that we really have right now that have nothing in common with each other. And so currently, Kidori has 32 HP, 19 MP. His attack is 44, his defense is 28, and his agility is 17, and his movement is 6. So he's got some improved movement. And so, and we need to look at the Birdman as well. Oh, Meeps, you think Squid Dude? You think Domingo's eyes are scary? What happened to the cute baby squid we had before? He's become a man. He's seen things that cannot be unseen. So we'll look at the Claude the Birdman, Kidori, are the main swordsman, and we'll look at Guyan. And I'm going to try to compare the characters to each other. So let's look at just sword users right now. Obviously, Egress we don't count as a spell. But he comes with Bolt 1 and 2. So that's pretty promising right out the gate. His attack's pretty good. His HP is meh. His defense is meh. His agility's not bad compared to some of the other characters. And his movement is 6. Let's go ahead and look at Claude. Now, Claude is a flying unit, so you would argue, well, he can fly. Yeah, that's great, but he doesn't gain the benefit of damage resistance based on terrain, so I tend to think of those 2 things canceling each other out. But his movement is 6, his agility is 19, which is better than Kidori's. His defense is 27, and so Kyudori's is 28. So, meh. Attack is 47, so it's actually better than Kyudori. And his HP is 1 worse, so that's nominal. But Kyudori has Bolt. And that's all that needs to be said. Now, is Claude better than Kyudori? No. I don't think that Kyudori is better than Claude either. They're kind of the same, and they're different in their own respect. And more importantly, what you could take from this is there's another Birdman we're going to find later in the game. So that's a better comparison. To compare Claude to our main character is kind of redundant and, well, not redundant, but just overall unnecessary and pointless. So I don't see the value of comparing those two other than to just give you an idea of what their stats are currently. All right, and now we're going to look at Guyan here, whose HP is 36. His attack is 39. So his attack is pretty bad, and he can't equip a weapon, so keep that in mind. His defense is 28, which is the equivalent to Kyudori, or the main character, whose name is Nick. His agility is 17, and his movement is 5. Now, I think one of the things I noticed was his movement is not affected by terrain. I believe he gets the Xylo treatment, which strategically is okay, but again, all of his stats aren't that good for a frontline unit. They're not that great. His HP is up there. It's at 36, which is the same as Cray, but that's not saying much. And his defense is only 28, which is equivalent to our main hero, so that's a 4 HP difference with similar defense. But agility is 17, which is equivalent to the main hero, and it's still on the faster side, but his movement is 5. So people have made points that Guyan isn't a great character, and there might be some evidence there currently to support that. So with that said, I believe we covered every character. It's interesting to see how they've developed, and more interestingly, that the archers, the mages, the priests, and even the knights share a lot statistically in common with each other. It's weird to see that, especially when it comes to defense and HP. Okay, only Yisha is the only one that seems to be taking an HP kind of dump, but all the characters have relatively low HP for 20 levels going. So, Meeps, if you could do me a favor, can you repost all of the characters' stats really quick? Every single one that you haven't posted here, because I'm going to now promote these characters and see if there's any kind of loss. Let's go ahead and make a save really quick, just in case there's some kind of screw up for whatever reason. Something goes wrong or something happens. Let's go ahead now and promote all of our characters that can be promoted. Now we can promote them all. And I'll start with the ones that we already have here. So let's promote Kyudori. Yes, Meeps, before the stream crashed. So we're now going to promote the main hero Nick to hero. And for those of you at home, I'm going to probably cut this part out so that way you don't have to sit through it. If I don't, then just fast forward. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to get all the info we can on these guys. And then we're going to compare them and see if there's a stat change of any kind. It's weird how the music's not stopping in the back. I don't know. That's interesting. And I will say, I do like some of the new class ideas. They really banked on the monk and added more, they gave you more monks in this game, as opposed to the one monk in the last game, but only one priest this time around. But you could argue that's because of the design, but it's hard to say what the design actually was. Because I don't know if they had planned to make a Shining Force Gaiden 1 and 2 early on or not, but it's interesting that they gave you monks, 2 monks and 1 priest, as opposed to 2 priests and 1 monk from the last game. But it kind of makes sense because the overall cast, I think, in the Shining Force CD games is a lot smaller. Based on, because you have to remember this was meant for the Sega Game Gear, and the overall story is a lot shorter. It's a lot shorter. It feels a lot shorter because I got to this moment so much faster than I did in the first Shining Force. And what we're looking for is to see if any characters take a stat dump, because stat dumps are weird and awkward, and it did happen. We did notice that characters lost stats when they promoted, which could tank this entire run if their stats are so low they can't do anything. Not that I think that's going to be a problem, because we have new weaponry, so that'll change a lot of characters out anyway. I think we have a new weapon for every character except for we only have 1 specialty weapon for our future paladins here. Mayfair becomes a priest to a vicar, or vicar. It's a vicar. I believe it's pronounced vicar. And more. Well, yeah, we're looking to see if there's a stat change, and if there is a stat change, we'll go through and see character by character what's lost. But we'll look at the first couple characters and see if anything even happened, because I believe it did happen in the first Shining Force game where characters took stat hits when they promoted, making it more important for them to get promoted. It is a vicar. I don't know what you're getting at, Meebs. Alright, and Kashing, which is just something little kids used to say back in the day when they were making like the money shot or whatever, they would go Kashing. No, nobody ever did that. It would be dumb back then to do it as much as it would be dumb to do it now. Alright, well, let's take a look at our statuses here. Alright, so let's take a look at our main character and see if there's any statistic change. Let me see here. 32 HP, 44 attack, 28 defense, 19 MP. So far the same. Let me see here with Ruse. 50, 26. So it looks like all the stats are inherently the same. Nothing seems to be per se lost. Which is good, because they already had pretty low stats going forward. So I think that does it, guys, for this explanation of what went on and what went down. Now, with that said, it's going to be interesting to see how we continue characters going forward. But what's interesting is, like, again, I'll go back to the Gates example, is that even though Gates is only 4 levels after promoted, he may only be 1 level off from Ruse, which puts into my theory that it plays into the theory that he probably promoted at level 15 because he's so close in level. He's so close leveling wise. So it's just an interesting observation, and I bet you if we took 5 levels off of Domingo, these stats might be closer to Wendy's. Or not to Yisha, because her stats are kind of all over the place. Excuse me. But we're going to follow up. We're going to see how this goes. Every character got those levels, and everybody's pretty good. Now what I'm going to now do is I got to grind these characters some more. But not much more, surprisingly. Because who do we have yet to see? And how many characters are left? Well, there's only 4 characters we don't have. We're missing Shriek the Birdman, Randolph, who's another paladin. We're missing Amiga, which will be interesting when we get there. And we're missing Lug, who's the gladiator. So we've got a Birdman coming in, a paladin coming in, and we have a gladiator and a specialty healer coming in. So did Yisha gain another set of ears? I don't see her anywhere, so no. She's not out there on the Force lineup, but yeah. So we're going to see how that plays out coming forward. So, and then we're also obviously going to re-gear everybody up just so we can get them working level-wise for us and everything. But anyway, hopefully that was a neat little insight into stats, because it may be that leveling your characters to 20 isn't that necessary. I mean, that's not entirely true, I would say. It's too early to tell. We still need to pick up Shriek, Randolph, Amigo, and Lug, who are characters we don't have yet. And one of them, I think, even comes to the second to last battle of the game or something like that. So we need to continue forth in the game. But here's the thing I would be afraid of, is power leveling. Now that all these characters are level 1, and we only have one chapter of the game left to go, plus one battle, I would be kind of suicidal to level these characters past what Lug is. Because if we level them too high, they'll get to level 20 before we have every character in the party. My goal is to get them at about level 15-ish before the last fight of the game, where we get the last theoretical character, which would be Lug. But we are going to dig through and pick up these other these other characters to ensure that we try to cover as many people as possible. Again, it's one of those things that's easier said than done, but I'm gonna gun for it as best as I can. But I do think it's like, and here's the other thing that's interesting too, is with the character Lug, you are forced to use him in the last battle. So yeah, and that's pretty much, I believe, when we get him. It's either in the second to last battle or it's the last battle. Or I think we get him in the second to last. We acquire him after the second to last battle or something, and then we suddenly get him. So yeah, that's gonna be weird. And then we gotta level him up. If he's not max level, then we gotta level him up, and we gotta do the math for him too, and figure out what his level kind of needs to be. Again, this is frustrating because he could be underleveled. If Lug becomes a problem, we'll just ignore him. Because what's the point of using Lug? The so-called best character, if he is the best character, if he's the best gladiator in the game, what's the point of getting him at the end of the game if you can only use him for one battle? So if that becomes to that, I might just level him for the sake of leveling him, but he would instantly be terrible because you only use him for one battle, and you are forced to use him, by the way. So anyway, I hope that gives you guys some lovely insight into that which is Shining Force CD so far. Once I get all these characters maxed out, we're going to go and do the same thing again, and we're going to take a look at everybody and see how they all look at level 20. But I'm going to do that in private, because if the other characters fall behind, the promoted characters, if they fall behind in any way, shape, or form, I will give them the level different. I am keeping a track of what levels they join in on, so I can do the math of how many levels extra I need to give them at endgame. If I feel if every promoted character is just worse than the main lineup, I'm going to see if we can give them extra levels. And if we can, then I'm going to say this is what I believe the experiment needs to be to compensate for the level difference. And I will explain that to everybody at home, under the theory that this is what went down. I may do a small little segment of every character at level 20 anyway. I may not show all the stat comparisons, but I am going to make an update saying this is what I noticed, because this could apply when I actually do Shining Force 2, because there is a lot of Shining Force 2 characters that are pre-promoted, and they all get shoved to the side for the sake of a powerful level, in the light of a powerful level 40 post-promotion pre-promoted team. And that's for good reason. They have 40 levels of leveling. Are you going to do that for these other characters? How is that going to be figured out? What is the assumption to be made? And it might be something just as simple as, well, they were all promoted at level 20 in Shining Force 2, so you just assume that they're pre-promoted level 20 plus whatever levels they have. So if you have a level, like, I'll give you an example from Shining Force 2 off the top of my head. I believe when you get Road, he's at level 4 promoted, I think. So I would assume instead that he's level 24. But if my characters are already level 40 by the time we get there, which they're not, they're usually level, by the time we get Road, he's about level, they're about level 35 or 36. I would assume he's 10 levels behind the rest of them. And we need to build him up so he's easily build-upable later. So again, these are all long-term things that need to be thought through, but we did it. We got halfway through. Everybody's promoted at level 20 in Shining Force CD Book 1. I'll do the same for Book 2 later. Now we got to get them up to level 20 in promoted, and as well as pick up the rest of the cast of characters. So I will see you guys all again in the final battle when we have the entire force. For as much as I want to stream getting there story-wise, I've streamed this game before. And I also have it on my YouTube channel, so check out my playthrough there. But if you're just curious to see the study, I will be back. It shouldn't take me that long either, because now I'm just playing through the game almost regularly again, till we get to the last boss. And that is where we can do our final analysis. So, cool stuff. Hopefully we can do an analysis with Lug in tow, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for stopping by. I am your host, the RPG Guy, and when we come back, we will have some more Shining Force CD leveling experiment for you. Hopefully I'll have it done, or at least find an interesting development to share with you guys. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please take a moment to check out more episodes from the RPG Guy, Tuesday Night Team Up, and more. And please subscribe. Always support the channels you enjoy watching, and while you're at it, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Keep on gaming hard. See you next time.